Chairman Green, Ranking Member Thompson, members of the committee, thank you for letting me testify here today. The career professionals at DHS, and specifically Customs and Border Protection and U.S. Border Patrol, deserve our praise and admiration. I am confident that they are doing everything they can every day to protect this country, despite this administration's efforts to undermine their efforts. The chaos at our southwest border and the consequences are a result of actions taken by the Biden administration. The perspectives that I provide are grounded in my professional experience, including my time as chief in the Biden administration. Decades of bipartisan border security improvements were erased on January 20th, 2021, when the Biden administration announced actions that were heard around the world as the U.S. borders are now open. As predicted, the most secure border the U.S. had ever enjoyed disintegrated into chaos. The Biden administration's claims that they inherited a border in shambles, that surges in illegal immigration like this are normal, or that allowing more illegal aliens to go through a port of entry is solving the problem, are not accurate. The crisis at our border is still raging. Don't get lulled into believing that 3,500 arrests a day should be cheered just because it is lower than the 11,000 a day we saw a few weeks ago. The Border Patrol remains overwhelmed. The cartels continue to control who and what is entering the United States. Migrants are still being exploited, and children are still being trafficked. CBP has recorded over 6 million encounters and over 1.4 million known gotaways. That's under the Biden administration. But numbers fail to convey the severity of the national security consequences. Some consequences are easier to measure than others before a bomb goes off. The 1.4 million known gotaways are a measurable consequence of agents being overwhelmed. But consider that hundreds of miles of border lack any persistent surveillance. And when construction of the border wall system was terminated, the associated technology was also terminated. Every minute that agents are not patrolling the U.S. border increases the probability of more unknown gotaways. Most illicit narcotics, including the fentanyl that is readily available in your hometown, originated outside of the United States. Every agent and officer taken away from inspection and patrol duties decreases our nation's ability to interdict these poisons before they can hurt your family, your friends, and your neighbors. Leaving hundreds of miles of border unmanned and unpatrolled is like leaving the doors of your home open when you go on vacation. You can replace things that get stolen, but the real threat is the unknown person hiding in your home when you return. Verifying any unknown person's identity or their story requires a face-to-face conversation. How many human trafficking incidents went undetected because our law enforcement personnel today are being instructed to process aliens like a fast food drive-through? How do we quantify the intelligence collection opportunities that were lost? Additionally, when CBP officers are redirected to conduct immigration processing, legal trade and travel suffers. This further disrupts our supply chain, increases the cost of imported goods, and more. As Chief of the United States Border Patrol, my staff and I engaged and advised the Biden transition teams well before inauguration. The administration's laser focus on expediting processing and increasing opportunities for migrants to enter the U.S. never wavered. Advice from career professionals was ignored. Policies were implemented that resulted in thousands of aliens being released into the U.S. Illegal immigration intensified, overwhelmed Border Patrol, and effectively transferred control of our southwest border directly to the Mexican drug cartels. This is a national security threat. Cartels use illegal aliens to overwhelm law enforcement, creating controllable gaps in border security. These gaps are exploited to smuggle anything they want into the United States. To think that terrorist networks and hostile nations are not exploiting this vulnerability is naive. I'm not here testifying about policy differences. Policy is how you carry out your duties under the law. The Secretary of Homeland Security has a legal duty to prevent the illegal entry of aliens and to secure our border. Even if success is unattainable, he still needs to try. Instead, Secretary Mayorkas has chosen to expend department resources to provide care for aliens that enter the U.S. illegally. As detailed in my written testimony, I believe the Secretary is derelict in his duties to secure the border, and I also believe that the Secretary has likely violated the Impoundment Control Act. Secretary Mayorkas is great at invoking understandable compassion for the plight of the migrants, and I too acknowledge our humanitarian responsibilities. But as Secretary of the United States Department of Homeland Security and the overseer of billions of tax dollars that are appropriated to protect America, If you look at that, this administration is clearly not doing their job.